farmer hospitalized, and freezes when his long-lost daughter tends to him. Robert Johnson felt as if the world had stopped when the nurse approached his stretcher. The chest pains that had rushed him to Columbus General Hospital seemed insignificant compared to the shock that seized every fiber of his body as he recognized those brown eyes. It was Emily, his daughter. The same girl who had left home 10 years ago after their worst fight. The one he had never been able to find again, no matter how much he searched the entire United States for her. "Good morning, Mr. Johnson," she said, checking the clipboard in her hands. "I'm Nurse Emily, and I'll be taking care of you today." Her voice was the same, but there was a professional firmness Robert didn't recognize. Her dark hair was pulled back into a low bun, and when she leaned over to check his IV drip, he spotted a golden wedding band on her finger, a ring that made his heart race even faster. "Are you all right?" she asked, noticing how he stared at her. "Are you feeling any different pain?" Robert tried to speak, but the words simply wouldn't come. How could she be here, after all these years, acting as if she didn't know him? How could she look into his eyes and pretend they were strangers? He stammered. "Easy, Mr. Johnson. You had a mild heart attack, but you got here in time. We'll take good care of you," Emily said, adjusting the pillow behind his back. When she touched his arm to check his blood pressure, Robert felt a tremor run through her hands. For just a second, just 1 second, he saw the same recognition in his daughter's eyes that he felt. But she quickly looked away and continued with the procedure. "Emily," he whispered. "Excuse me, sir?" she asked, still not meeting his gaze. "Nothing. It's nothing." The head nurse, Mrs. Barbara, a gray-haired woman with a motherly demeanor, approached the stretcher. "Emily, how's the patient doing?" she asked. "Stable, Mrs. Barbara. Blood pressure is still a bit high, but within expected range for his condition," Emily replied, keeping her eyes fixed on the clipboard. "Good. Mr. Johnson here is a farmer, isn't he?" Mrs. Barbara said, smiling at Robert. "My husband worked his whole life in the countryside, too." Robert only nodded, unable to take his eyes off Emily. She had changed so much, yet she was still the girl he had raised. Her face was more mature, but she still had that tiny pimple scar near her right ear, the one she always tried to hide with her hair. "Do you two know each other?" Mrs. Barbara asked, sensing the tension between them. "No," Robert and Emily answered at the same time, too quickly to sound natural. Mrs. Barbara eyed them suspiciously but didn't press further. "All right. Emily, when you're done here, meet me at the nurse's station. We need to organize next week's schedule." "Yes, ma'am." When they were alone again, the silence in the room was deafening. Robert could hear the sounds of the hospital around them, but between the two of them, there was only a tension that cut through the air. "Why are you pretending you don't know me?" he asked quietly. Emily stopped writing on the clipboard but didn't look up. "I don't know what you're talking about. Emily, I'm your father." "My name is Emily Smith," she said, finally meeting his eyes. "And you're confusing me with someone else." Smith. She had changed her last name. That could only mean one thing. She had gotten married. The ring on her finger wasn't just an accessory. It was real. Robert's chest tightened, not from the pain of the heart attack, but from the agony of knowing he had missed so many important moments in his daughter's life. "Smith," he repeated, "you're married. Mr. Johnson, you need to rest. I'm going to give you a mild sedative to help," she said, picking up a syringe. "No!" Robert held her wrist. "Please don't run away from me again." His touch made Emily stop. Her hands began to tremble visibly, and Robert could see tears forming in her eyes. "Let me go," she whispered. "Emily, my daughter." "Let me go," she said louder, stepping back. The bedroom door opened and Mrs. Barbara walked in again. "Is everything all right here?" she asked, looking at both of them. "Yes," Emily said quickly. "The patient is a little agitated, but nothing out of the ordinary." "Robert, right?" said Mrs. Barbara, moving closer to him. "You need to stay calm. Stress isn't good for your heart." "She's—" Robert began, but Emily interrupted him. "I'll get the sedative," she said, hurrying out of the room. Mrs. Barbara was left alone with Robert, who was visibly shaken. "What happened here?" she asked. "Emily, She's my daughter, Robert said, his voice choked. Your daughter? Mrs. Barbara sat in the chair beside the bed. Are you sure? I am. She disappeared 10 years ago after an argument. I could never find her again. Mrs. Barbara was thoughtful for a moment. Listen, Robert, I've known Emily for 3 years. She's worked here since she arrived in the city. She's one of the best nurses we've ever had. But she's never talked about her family. She changed her last name. Now it's Smith. Yes, she's a widow. Lost her husband 2 years ago in a work accident. She has 3 young children, said Mrs. Barbara, watching the impact of her words on Robert's face. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. 3 children, Robert repeated, feeling as if he'd been punched in the gut. I have grandchildren and didn't even know. Robert, are you sure she's your daughter? Because if it's true, you're both suffering so much keeping this distance. I'm absolutely sure. That small mark near her right ear, when she was little, she hit the corner of a table and it left a scar. And the way she twists her mouth when she's nervous, just like her mother. Mrs. Barbara sighed deeply. I'll talk to her. But Robert, if you two really are father and daughter, something very serious must have happened for her to pretend she doesn't know you. It was my fault, Robert admitted. I was too hard on her, too proud. When she started dating a young man who worked on the local farms, I said terrible things. What kind of things? I said a landless farmhand would never be worthy of my daughter, that as long as I was alive, she wouldn't marry someone who couldn't give her what she deserved. I told him I'd make him leave town if he didn't disappear from her life. And what happened? She told me she was pregnant with his child, and I lost my temper. I said if she insisted on that relationship, she was no longer my daughter, that she could leave and never come back. Robert closed his eyes, reliving that terrible night. The next day she was gone. She only took a suitcase with a few clothes, left a note saying that since I didn't want her as my daughter anymore, she was leaving, that I could keep my pride and she'd keep her love. And you looked for her. I searched until I nearly lost my mind, sold half the farm to hire detectives, traveled all over the country, but she had simply vanished, as if she'd disappeared off the map. Mrs. Barbara shook her head, clearly moved by the story. Robert, you know she lost a baby, don't you? What do you mean? Emily had a complicated pregnancy when she was very young. Lost the baby at 6 months. Almost lost her own life too. It was after that she met the man she married. He helped her recover, and she had her 3 children with him. Robert felt the world crumble around him. Emily had lost the baby. The grandson he never got to meet, who might have been alive if he hadn't been so proud and stubborn. She almost... Robert couldn't finish the sentence. She almost didn't make it. There were serious complications, and from what I understand now, she went through all of it alone without her family. My God, what have I done? Robert whispered, covering his face with his hands. At that moment, Emily returned to the room carrying a tray of medication. She stopped at the door when she saw Robert crying and Mrs. Barbara standing by the bed. Is something wrong? She asked. Emily, we need to talk, Mrs. Barbara said. Now. But I need to administer the sedative to the patient. Now, Emily. Mrs. Barbara's firm tone left no room for argument. Emily set the tray down on the table and followed the head nurse out of the room. Robert was left alone, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything he had just learned. Emily had suffered alone. She had lost a baby, nearly lost her own life, gotten married, become a widow, raised 3 children, all without him there. From the hallway, he could hear raised voices, but couldn't make out the words. After a few minutes, he heard footsteps approaching. It was Emily who walked back into the room with red, tear-filled eyes. The doctor says you need surgery, she said, trying to keep her voice professional, but failing. Emily, you have a serious blockage in an artery. If you don't have the surgery, you could have another heart attack, a worse one. My daughter, listen to me. I'm not your daughter, she finally exploded. Your daughter died 10 years ago, when you told her she was worthless, that she was a disgrace to the family. Emily, I was wrong. You were more than wrong. You destroyed me, she said, tears streaming down her face. When I needed my father the most, when I was pregnant and terrified, you threw me out of the house like I was trash. Robert tried to sit up, but she pushed him back down. Stay still. You almost died from a heart attack, for God's sake. I need to explain. Explain what? How you made me sleep at the bus station for 2 days because I didn't even have money for a hotel? How I went hungry for months because I was pregnant and no one wanted to hire a 17-year-old girl. Each word felt like a knife to Robert's chest. And you know what's worse? Emily continued. Even after all that, even after I lost my baby alone in a public hospital, I still missed you. I still wanted my dad to show up and hug me. Emily, if I had known... Known what? That your daughter would go hungry? That she'd almost lose her life? That didn't matter back then. What mattered was your pride, your reputation. You're right, I was a terrible father, Robert admitted, but I looked for you. I searched until I nearly lost my mind. That's a lie. If you'd really looked, you would have found me. Emily, I sold half the farm. I hired 3 different detectives. I put ads in newspapers across 10 states. Stop, she shouted. Just stop talking. I don't want to hear your excuses. Mrs. Barbara rushed into the room. What's going on here? The whole floor can hear you shouting. Nothing, Mrs. Barbara. I'm done here, Emily said, wiping her tears and picking up the tray. Emily, you can't leave like this. You two need to talk properly. There's nothing to talk about. This man means nothing to me, Emily said, heading for the door. What about your children? Robert asked. My grandchildren? Don't they deserve to know their grandpa? Emily stopped at the door but didn't turn around. My children don't have a grandpa. They have a mother who fights every day to give them the best, and the memory of a wonderful father who truly loved them. Emily, please. Your surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning. I'll ask to have my shift changed. I don't want to care for this patient anymore. And she walked out, leaving Robert devastated in bed. Mrs. Barbara approached him. Robert, she's very angry, but deep down, she's hurting just as much as you are. She has every right to hate me. I ruined everything. It's not that simple. Let me tell you something that might help you understand better, said Mrs. Barbara, sitting down. Emily doesn't work here by accident. What do you mean? When she moved to Columbus 3 years ago, she had several job options, private hospitals, clinics, even medical offices that paid better. But she chose to work here, at the public hospital. And what's wrong with that? Robert, this hospital serves the entire rural area. Farmers, farmhands, families from the countryside. If you ever needed medical care, this is where you'd come. Robert fell silent, processing the information. You're saying I'm saying that for 3 years Emily worked here knowing that one day you might cross paths. She never lost hope of seeing you again. Robert felt his heart race, but this time it wasn't because of his condition. Then why is she acting like this? Because she's afraid, Robert. Afraid to open up again and be rejected once more. Afraid that you'll meet the grandchildren and then disappear from their lives. Afraid the children will grow attached and then suffer. I would never do that. She doesn't know that. In her mind, you already did it once. Mrs. Barbara stood up. Let me give you some advice. Don't give up on her. Emily is a strong woman, but deep down, she's still the little girl you raised. She just needs time to believe you've changed. But she said she's changing her shift. Leave that to me, said Mrs. Barbara with a smile. Sometimes head nurses have to make tough decisions for the patient's sake. That night, Robert barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Emily's pained face, heard the harsh words she'd spoken, and he knew he deserved every one of them. Around 2 in the morning, a nurse entered the room to check his vitals. It wasn't Emily. It was an older woman named Nancy. How are you feeling, Mr. Johnson? She asked, checking the monitors. Nancy, do you know Emily well? I do. Why do you ask? Mrs. Barbara must have told you that she's my daughter. She did, and I have to say I was shocked. Emily never talks about her family. What else do you know about her? Nancy hesitated for a moment. Well, normally I don't discuss my co-workers' lives, but given the situation, Emily is one of the most dedicated people I've ever met. She works double shifts when she needs extra money, never calls in sick, never complains. What about her children? 3 little angels. The oldest is 8. His name is Robert. Robert? He interrupted, emotional. Yes. He's a very polite, very bright boy. Sometimes he comes here after school to pick up his mom. The others are Michael, who's 6, and Emma Grace, who's 4. Robert felt his eyes fill with tears. She had named her oldest son after him. Even after everything, even with all the pain, she had honored her father. Do they know they have a grandfather? I know Robert sometimes asks about his grandparents, and Emily always says they're very far away, but maybe one day they'll meet. She never spoke badly about me to them? Never. In fact, once I overheard her talking to Robert on the phone, and he was asking why they didn't have grandparents like the other kids at school. Emily said sometimes families are separated by misunderstandings, but that doesn't mean there's no love. Robert covered his face with his hands. Hurt as she was, Emily had protected his image for their children. Nancy, do you think I have any chance of reconciling with her? Listen, Mr. Johnson, I'll be honest with you. Emily is a deeply wounded woman, but she's also very smart. If you've truly changed, if you're willing to be a real father, she'll see it. Just don't rush it. And if she doesn't give me a chance, then you'll have to accept it. But at least you'll have tried to do the right thing. The next morning, Robert was taken to the operating room. The blockage in his artery was worse than the doctors had initially thought, and the surgery lasted 4 hours. When he woke up in the recovery room, still groggy from the anesthesia, the first person he saw was Emily. She was checking the machines, her face serious. "How am I doing?" he asked hoarsely. "The surgery was a success. You'll make a full recovery," she said, avoiding his gaze. "Emily, I thought you'd switched shifts." "Mrs. Barbara thought it best for me to keep caring for you. She said changing nurses mid-treatment would be worse for your recovery." Robert smiled faintly. Mrs. Barbara was keeping her promise. "Do you need anything?" Emily asked. "I just want you to know I never stopped looking for you." "Mr. Johnson, please let me speak. You don't have to answer, just listen." Emily sighed and crossed her arms, but didn't leave the room. "When you left home, I spent 3 days denying you were gone. I thought it was a tantrum that you'd come back once the anger passed. On the 4th day, I went to what had been your room and saw you'd only taken a few clothes. That's when it hit me." Robert paused to catch his breath, still weak from the surgery. "I started searching in the city, then in nearby towns. I asked everyone I knew if they'd seen you. I put ads in newspapers, posters in bus stations, even on local television." "If you searched so hard, why didn't you find me?" Emily asked, still not looking at him. "Because you were smarter than me. You moved states, changed your name when you married, started a new life. The detectives I hired never even came close. You hired detectives. 3. The first worked a whole year, the second 8 months, the third nearly 2 years. I spent almost everything I had, sold half the farm to pay them." Emily finally looked at him, surprised. "Why would you do that if you didn't want me as your daughter?" "Because I was desperate. Because I realized I'd lost the most important person in my life because of my stupid pride." "But you said—" "I said terrible things that night, things I didn't really mean but spoke in anger, and I regretted it the next second." Robert tried to move in bed but was still too weak. "Emily, I knew Mark. I knew he was a hard-working, honest young man. The problem wasn't him, it was me. It was my foolish farmer's pride, wanting my daughter to marry someone important, someone with money." "You knew Mark?" "Of course I did. He worked at Mr. Wilson's farm for 3 years, one of the best workers the man ever had. And when you two started dating, he even talked to me, asked permission to court you properly." Emily fell silent, processing the information. "And what did you say?" "That I wanted to think, that I needed to know his intentions better. But inside, I was making up all these silly demands, thinking my daughter deserved more than a farmhand. And when I told you I was pregnant..." Robert closed his eyes, reliving that terrible moment. "When you told me, my first reaction was panic. Not because of the pregnancy itself, but because I knew I hadn't been fair to either of you. And instead of admitting the mistake, he chose to blame you and Mark. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. You said horrible things. I did, and I don't deserve forgiveness. I told you that you had disappointed me, that you were shaming the family. But the truth is, I was the one shaming the family, being a prejudiced and prideful father. Emily sat in the chair beside the bed for the first time since they had reunited. Do you have any idea what it was like to go through all that alone? I don't. But I want you to tell me if you can. I want to understand what you went through, what I missed. Why? To feel even worse? To understand the extent of the damage I caused? To know how I can try to make it up, if that's even possible? Emily stayed quiet for a few minutes, wrestling with her emotions. In the first few days, I stayed in a cheap boarding house. I thought you'd come looking for me, that you'd change your mind. Every time I heard a car stop outside, I ran to the window thinking it was you. Robert felt his chest tighten. After a week, the money ran out. I spent 2 nights at the bus station sleeping on the benches. A social worker found me there and took me to a shelter. My God. At the shelter, I met other girls going through the same thing. Girls who had fought with their families, who were pregnant and alone. That's where I learned the world wasn't as simple as I thought when I lived on the farm. How did you manage? I took any job I could find, cleaned houses, helped at diners, babysat, all under the table because no one wanted to hire a 17-year-old pregnant girl. Each word hit Robert like a punch to the gut. And when you lost the baby? Emily took a deep breath before answering. I was almost 6 months along, working at a diner, lifting heavy things, standing all day. One day I collapsed at work. They took me to the hospital, but it was too late. Emily. I lost a lot of blood. Was hospitalized for almost 2 weeks. And you know the worst part? Even then, even when I was close to losing my life, I was still calling for you. I still wanted my dad by my side. Robert couldn't hold back his tears. Sweetheart, forgive me. Please forgive me. It's not that simple, not after 10 years. I know it's not, but give me a chance, just one chance to prove I've changed. Emily stood up from the chair. I need to check on other patients. You should rest. Emily, my grandchildren, what are they like? She paused at the door, hesitating. They're wonderful boys. Polite, affectionate, smart. Bobby looks a lot like you when you were little. How do you know what I was like as a child? Because Mom showed me old photos. She kept them all in a shoebox. Your mother, how did she take it when you left? I don't know. I never spoke to her again. Emily, your mother suffered so much. I don't want to hear it. If she suffered, she could have looked for me. Could have called, written a letter. She tried. Your phone was disconnected. You didn't have a fixed address. How do you know that? Robert realized he'd said too much. Because she helped me look for you. Helped. Emily stepped back into the room. Mom helped look for me. Yes. She made herself sick crying those first few months. Lost weight, couldn't sleep, barely ate. And when I hired the detectives, she gave me all the information she had. Names of your friends, places you like to go, everything. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because your mother made me promise I wouldn't use her to convince you to come back. He said that if we ever found you, it had to be on my own, that I had to take responsibility for my mistakes. Emily approached the bed again. And where is Mom now? Robert lowered his head, unsure how to break the news. Emily, your mother. She passed away 5 years ago. What do you mean, passed away? She got sick, cancer. She fought for 2 years, but... No, Emily screamed. No, it can't be. Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry you had to find out like this. Emily began to sob uncontrollably. I lost my mother and didn't even know. And she was sick and I wasn't there. Emily, she talked about you every day until the very end. She said you'd come back, that one day the family would be together again. Why didn't you keep looking for me? Why did you stop? We didn't stop. But after 5 years of searching with no luck, the detectives said you'd probably left the country or changed your identity completely. That finding you would be nearly impossible. Emily sat on the bed, crying. Did Mom die alone? No, I was with her. And in the end, she made me promise never to stop looking for you, that one day you'd come home. Did she say anything about me? She said she loved you, that she understood why you left, and that she wanted you to be happy even if it was far from us. Emily cried for several minutes, and Robert respected her grief. When she finally calmed down a little, he continued. Emily, your mother left a letter for you. I brought it here to the hospital. A letter? She wrote it when she found out she was sick. Said if we ever found you, we were to give it to you. Where is it? In my wallet, along with other things of yours I've kept all these years. Emily went to the cabinet where Robert's belongings were and took his wallet. Inside, along with the letter, were old photos of Emily as a child, some drawings she'd made in school, and a little necklace she used to wear. You kept all this? I did. I carry it with me everywhere. Your mother said it was foolish, but I couldn't let go. Emily opened the letter with trembling hands. My dearest daughter, if you're reading this, it means your father finally found you. I know you must be so angry with both of us, and you have every right to be. When you left, a part of me died too, but with time, I understood you did what you thought was right. You fought for your love, and that proves I raised a strong, brave woman. Your father never stopped looking for you, never stopped blaming himself for what happened. He changed so much after you left, became a humbler, kinder man. I know it might be hard to believe, but it's true. Emily, I wish I'd had the chance to meet my grandchildren, to see you happy, to ask for your forgiveness in person. But if that wasn't possible, I want you to know I always loved you, always supported you, and always wanted you to be happy. Don't hold on to anger, my dear. Life is too short for that. If your father is searching for you, it's because he truly wants to make things right. Forever loving you, Mom. Emily finished the letter with tears streaming down her face. She really believed you'd find me. She never lost faith. Even in her hardest moments, she always said you'd come back. And you? Did you have faith? Robert thought before answering. There were times I lost hope, especially after your mother passed. But I kept looking anyway because I'd promised her. And if you hadn't found me today, if I didn't work here, I don't know, probably would have kept searching until the end of my life. Emily folded the letter carefully and tucked it away. I need time to process all this. It's so much at once. I understand. Take all the time you need. You said you had other things of mine. Robert asked her to get an envelope from the bottom of his wallet. Inside were more photos, a thimble that belonged to Emily's grandmother, and a small diary she had forgotten. I found the diary under your bed after you left. I read a few pages, and that's when I realized how unfair I'd been to you and Mark. What did it say? That you were truly in love. That Mark treated you well, respected you, and had plans to start a family with you. And that you were afraid to tell me about the relationship because you knew I wouldn't approve. Emily picked up the diary and flipped through some pages. I was so young. You were. And I forgot that. I forgot you were discovering love, that you had the right to make your own choices. Mark was a wonderful man, hard-working, caring, dedicated, exactly as I'd written in the diary. Tell me about him. He found me at one of my lowest points. I was living in a boarding house, working at a factory, still recovering from losing the baby. One day I fainted at work and he took me to the hospital. Did he work at the factory too? He was a supervisor. He could have fired me for missing so much work, but instead he helped me. He offered me a room in the house he shared with his sister, gave me a better job, took care of me. Did he know your story? I told him everything. About the fight with you, about the pregnancy, about losing the baby, and even knowing all that, he never judged me. Robert smiled sadly. Sounds like he was the right man for you after all. He was, and you would have liked him if you'd given him a chance. I'm sure I would have. And your children? How was that? Bobby was born a year after we got married. It was the most beautiful thing in the world. Mark cried when he saw the baby for the first time. Why did you give him my name? Emily hesitated before answering. Because despite everything, you were always my father. and I wanted my son to carry his grandfather's name, even if they'd never meet. Robert felt his chest swell with emotion. And the others? Michael was born 2 years later, and Emma Grace 4 years ago. Mark was an amazing father. He played with them, told them stories, helped with their homework. What happened when you lost him? It was an accident at the construction site where he worked. A beam came loose and it was very quick. He didn't suffer. How did you manage after that? The first few months were so hard. I didn't know how I'd raise 3 kids alone. But I got the job here at the hospital, and little by little we figured it out. Do the kids miss their dad? They do, especially Bobby, who was closest to Mark. He always asks when Daddy's coming back, and I have to explain that some people go to a place they can't return from. Do they ask about grandparents? They do, especially when they see their school friends with theirs. I always tell them they have grandparents, but they live very far away. Emily, I'd really like to meet my grandchildren. I know, but I'm scared. Scared of what? Scared they'll get attached to you, and then you'll disappear again. Scared they'll find out their grandpa was the person who made their mom leave home. I would never hurt those children, and I'd never leave again. How can I be sure of that? Because I learned the hardest lesson of my life. I lost 10 years with my daughter because of pride. I missed the chance to know my grandchildren when they were babies. I wasn't there when you needed me most. I won't make the same mistake twice. Just then, someone knocked on the bedroom door. It was Mrs. Barbara. Excuse me, may I come in? Of course, Mrs. Barbara, Emily said. How's our patient doing? Good, recovering from surgery. Wonderful. Emily, I need to talk to you about tomorrow's schedule. Of course. Actually, said Mrs. Barbara with a smile, I wanted to let you know there's someone at the front desk asking for you. Who is it? A little boy. He said he's your son. Emily grew worried. Robert, but he should be in school. He said school let out early today and that he came to pick you up. He's with an older woman. That must be Mrs. Jenkins, my neighbor. She sometimes picks up the kids for me. Do you want me to send him up? Emily looked at Robert, who was clearly eager to meet his grandson. I don't know if that's a good idea. Emily, Robert said, I promise I'll be careful. I won't say anything to confuse or scare him. I just want to meet my grandson. What if he asks questions? Then you answer however you think is best. I'll follow your lead. Emily thought for a moment. All right. But if I ask him to leave, you won't insist. Promise. Mrs. Barbara went to get the boy. A few minutes later, she returned with a little boy with dark hair and big, curious eyes. He really did look a lot like Robert as a child. Mom, the boy said, running to hug Emily. School ended early because the teacher got sick. Mrs. Jenkins brought me here. Hi, sweetheart. It's so good to see you, Emily said, hugging her son. The boy noticed Robert in the bed. Who's that man, Mom? Emily hesitated, unsure how to answer. This is Mr. Johnson. He's recovering from surgery. Oh, the boy said, stepping closer to the bed. Hi, Mr. Johnson. My name's Robert, too. Hi, Robert, the grandfather said, emotional. It's a pleasure to meet you. Are you sick? I was, but I'm getting better. That's good. My mom takes really good care of patients. She's the best nurse in the world. Robert smiled, looking at Emily. I'm sure she is. The boy studied Robert for a moment. Do you have kids? I do. I have a daughter. Where is she? She was lost for a long time. But now I've found her again. That's cool. I bet she was really happy. I hope so, Robert said, glancing at Emily. You know, Mr. Johnson, I don't have a grandpa. My dad's dad lived really far away, and I never got to meet him, and my mom's dad. Robert, Emily interrupted, why don't you go get some juice at the diner? But I wanted to talk to Mr. Johnson. He seems nice. Robert looked at Emily, silently asking permission to continue the conversation. You can talk, sweetheart, just for a few minutes. What's your mom's dad like? Robert asked. I don't know. Mom says he lives really far away, but I think if he knew I existed, he'd want to meet me. Robert felt his eyes fill with tears. Why are you crying? The boy asked, concerned. It's just, sometimes grown-ups make really big mistakes, and then they feel sad about it. What kind of mistakes? Like letting people we love stay far away from us. The boy thought for a moment. But if the person still loves them, they can say sorry, right? Yes, they can. But sometimes it's hard. Why? Because the person who got hurt might not want to forgive. The boy looked at Emily, then at Robert. You know, Mr. Johnson, my mom always says forgiving is good for the heart. That holding on to anger makes you sick. Emily was surprised by her son's maturity. Where did you learn that, Robert? Mrs. Thompson at school said that when I fought with Michael. She said brothers always fight, but you have to forgive, or else the family stays sad. Robert smiled at his grandson. Your teacher is very wise. Do you have brothers? No, but I have had a very special daughter. And why was she lost? Because her dad was very stubborn and proud. He said things he shouldn't have. And has she forgiven him now? Robert looked at Emily, who was moved by the conversation. I don't know yet. I hope so. I'm sure she'll forgive you. Daughters always forgive their dads, even when they do wrong things. Just then, Mrs. Jenkins, Emily's neighbor, arrived. Robert, my dear, shall we go? Your brothers are waiting for me at home, she said. I'll be right there, Mrs. Jenkins, the boy replied. Then he turned to Robert. It was really nice talking to you. I hope your daughter forgives you soon. I hope so too. Can I come back tomorrow to talk more? Emily and Robert exchanged glances. If your mother allows it, Robert said. Mom, can I? We'll see, sweetheart. Now go with Mrs. Jenkins. The boy kissed his mother and waved to Robert. Bye, Mr. Robert. Get well soon. Goodbye, Robert. It was a pleasure meeting you. After they left, Emily and Robert sat in silence for a few minutes. He's amazing, Robert finally said. He's a very special boy, so mature for his age. He has his mother's kind heart and his grandpa's stubbornness, Emily said with a small smile. Emily, did you hear how he talked about forgiveness, as if it were the most natural thing in the world? He's been through a lot for his age. Losing his father made him grow up fast. And yet, he hasn't lost his innocence or kindness. Mark always said children are wiser than adults about some things. He was right. Young Robert taught me a lesson today. What lesson? That if daughters always forgive their fathers, maybe there's still hope for us. Emily moved closer to the bed and sat in the chair. Dad, she said, calling him that for the first time since they'd reunited. Robert's heart raced at the word. Yes, sweetheart. I won't say I'm not hurt anymore because I am. And I won't say forgiving is easy because it's not. I understand. But maybe we can try to rebuild our relationship, slowly, one day at a time. Robert held Emily's hand. That's all I want. A chance to be the father you deserve. And the grandpa my kids deserve. I promise I'll do things right this time. Dad, you need to understand things have changed. I'm not that 17-year-old girl who left home anymore. I know. I'm a grown woman, a mother of 3, with responsibilities and my own opinions. I can't just go back to the farm and pretend nothing happened. I'm not asking you to. I want to know the woman you've become, not turn you back into the girl you were. And my kids come first. Any decision I make, they're my priority. As they should be. If you want to be part of our lives, you'll have to accept we're a package deal. You can't just pick the good moments. Emily, I lost 10 years with you. I don't want to lose another day. I want to be there for the good times and the hard ones. Even if it means changes in your life. What kind of changes? Well, I can't leave Columbus. I have my job here. The boys are in school. We've built a life here. And I can't manage the farm from afar forever. What are you suggesting? That maybe it's time for some changes in my life too. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. In the days that followed, as Robert recovered from surgery, he and Emily spent hours talking. He told her about the years she'd been gone, how the farm had changed, and how the neighbors always asked about her. Emily shared her life in Columbus, the challenges of raising 3 kids alone, and her dreams for the boys' futures. Young Robert came to the hospital every day after school. Gradually, he formed a bond with his grandfather, still unaware they were family. They talked about soccer, school, and life. Robert was impressed by the boy's intelligence and maturity. One day, as they chatted, the boy asked a question that caught Robert off guard. "Mr. Johnson, why do you look at my mum like that?" "Like what?" "The way my dad used to. With so much love." Robert glanced at Emily, who was organizing the medications. "It's just that your mum reminds me of someone very special." "The daughter you lost?" "That's right." "Do they look alike?" "Very much." The boy grew thoughtful. "You know, Mr. Johnson, sometimes I think people meet when they need to meet." "Why do you say that?" "Because you showed up here around the same time Mom was really sad." "She was sad?" "Yeah, I heard her crying in her room a bunch of times. When I asked why, she said sometimes grown-ups get sad remembering things from the past." Robert looked at Emily, who had stopped organizing the medications and was listening. "And now? Is she still sad?" "Not as much. Ever since you came, she's been happier." Emily walked over to them. "Bobby, don't bombard Mr. Johnson with questions." "But I like talking to him, Mom. He's really nice." "I like talking to you too," Robert said, ruffling the boy's hair. "Mr. Johnson, can I ask a different question?" "Of course." "Would you like to meet my siblings?" Robert looked at Emily, who nodded. "I'd love to." "Then tomorrow, I'll ask Mrs. Jenkins to bring them here. Michael is really funny, and Emma Grace is the prettiest girl in the world. I'm sure they're wonderful kids." "They are, and I bet they'll really like you." The next day, Mrs. Jenkins brought the 3 children to the hospital. Michael, 6 years old, was shyer than his older brother but had the same warm smile. Emma Grace, 4, was a little doll with curly hair and big eyes. "Mum, who is this man?" Emma Grace asked, hiding behind Emily. "This is Mr. Johnson, sweetheart. He's recovering here at the hospital." "Is he sick?" Michael asked, concerned. "He was, but he's getting better," Emily explained. "That's good," Emma Grace said, stepping closer to the bed. "I don't like it when people are sick." "Me neither," Robert said, moved to meet his granddaughter. "Do you have kids?" Michael asked. "I have a daughter." "And grandkids?" Robert glanced at Emily, who gestured for him to continue. "I have 3 very special grandchildren." "Where do they live?" "Very close by." Emma Grace inched even closer to the bed. "Do you want to be my friend?" "Of course I do." "Then you can call me Emma. Only my friends call me Emma." Robert smiled, tears in his eyes. "All right, Emma. It's a pleasure to be your friend." The children spent an hour talking with Robert. Michael told him about school, Emma Grace showed him a drawing she'd made, and Bobby talked about his favorite soccer team. Robert listened intently, memorizing every moment. When it was time to leave, Emma Grace kissed Robert's forehead. "Get better soon, Grandpa Johnson," she said, unaware of what she'd just called him. Everyone fell silent. Emma Grace had called Robert Grandpa without anyone explaining their relationship. "Why did you call him Grandpa?" Bobby asked. "I don't know," Emma Grace said, shrugging. "But he seems like a nice grandpa." Michael looked at his sister, then at Robert, then at their mom. "Mom, is he really our grandpa?" Emily hesitated, unsure how to answer. "Why do you think that, Michael?" "Because he has the same eyes as Bobby, and because you're happy when you talk to him." Bobby was also staring at everyone, trying to understand. "Mom, is it true? Is Mr. Robert our grandpa?" Emily looked at Robert, who nodded for her to continue. "Yes, my darlings, this is your grandpa." "Really?" shouted Emma Grace, jumping with joy. "I have a real grandpa?" "Yes, you do," said Robert, his voice choked up. "But why didn't anyone tell us before?" asked Bobby. "Because Grandpa and Mom had been fighting for a long time, and we only just made up." "But you're not fighting anymore." "No, son, not anymore." Michael moved closer to Robert. "Grandpa, are you going to leave again?" "Never again, Michael, I'm never leaving." "Promise." "I promise." The children crowded around the bed, hugging their grandfather. Robert could barely contain his emotion at having his 3 grandchildren there, calling him Grandpa, showering him with affection as if they'd known him all along. "Grandpa, when you leave the hospital, will you live with us?" asked Emma Grace. "Well, that's something I need to talk to your mom about." "Mom, can Grandpa live with us?" asked Bobby. "We'll see, sweetheart. Now you need to go with Mrs. Jenkins. She's waiting." "But I want to stay longer with Grandpa," Emma Grace complained. "You'll come back tomorrow." "Grandpa needs to rest now." The children said goodbye with kisses and hugs, promising to return the next day. After they left, Robert and Emily were alone again. "How did they know?" Robert asked. "Kids have a special intuition for these things, and you have a natural connection with them." "They're amazing, Emily. You've done a wonderful job raising them." "I had Mark's help. He was a loving, present father. I wish I'd known him. I wish I'd apologized for being so prejudiced. He would have liked you too. He wasn't the kind to hold grudges." "Emily, I need to make you an offer." "What offer?" "I've been thinking a lot these past few days about the farm, about my life, about what really matters." "And what did you decide?" "That none of it means anything without you and the boys." "Dad, let me finish. I want to sell the farm and move to Columbus." "What? But the farm is your whole life." "It was. But now my life is you. I want to be close to my grandchildren. I want to help you raise them. I want to make up for lost time." "But are you sure? It's such a drastic decision." "I'm absolutely sure. The farm without you is just a piece of land, and land can be bought anywhere." "What would you do here?" "I could buy a small property outside the city, or even invest in a business here. The important thing is being close to you." Emily grew thoughtful. "Dad, I don't want you to make a decision like this on impulse." "It's not impulse, sweetheart. It's a thought-out decision. What kind of grandpa would I be if I stayed 300 miles away from my grandkids?" "But what if it doesn't work out? What if we can't make it work?" "It will, because this time I'll do everything differently. I'll listen more, talk less, respect your decisions." "And what if the boys get too attached and then something happens?" "Emily, I'm 58. I'm not at an age to play with people's feelings. When I say I want to be part of your lives, I mean forever." Emily stood and walked to the window, looking out at the street. "I need to think about this carefully." "Of course. There's no rush. Actually, there is. Because if you really want to move here, you'll need to start getting things in order. The farm won't sell itself." Robert smiled. "Does that mean you're considering the offer?" "It means I'll give us a chance to try being a real family." "Emily, but with conditions. Whatever you want. First, no interfering with how I raise the boys. I'll listen to your opinions, but the final decisions are mine." "Agreed." "Second, no trying to act like the father you never were. You can't try to make up for lost years by spoiling the kids too much. I understand." "Third, you have to respect Mark's memory. He was my children's father, and they have the right to keep that memory alive. Not only do I accept that, but I'll help keep his memory alive. And lastly, if at any point I feel your presence is harming me or the kids, you'll have to accept stepping away." Robert thought for a moment before responding. "I accept. But I want you to give me a fair chance before making that decision." "You'll have every chance in the world. But now it's my children at stake. I can't risk their well-being. And I'm not asking you to risk it. I'm asking you to trust that I've truly changed." Emily moved closer to the bed. "Dad, I want to believe you've changed. I need to believe it, to move forward." "Then give me that chance." "All right, but we'll take it slow. First you recover from surgery, then we'll figure everything out." "And in the meantime?" "In the meantime, you'll get to know your grandchildren better, and they'll get to know their grandpa." In the days that followed, Robert recovered quickly from surgery. The kids visited him daily, and with each meeting, their bond grew stronger. Bobby talked about soccer games at school, Michael showed off his drawings, and Emma Grace simply enjoyed chatting, asking questions about everything. One afternoon, Mrs. Barbara came into the room with news. "Robert, I have a surprise for you." "What surprise?" "The hospital is organizing a small farewell party for you." The staff heard about your story with Emily and wanted to do something special. You didn't have to. Oh, but we did. It's not every day we witness a reconciliation like yours. Does Emily know? It was her idea. Robert was moved. Emily had arranged a party for him. When is it? Tomorrow, your discharge day. Nothing fancy, just cake and soda in the cafeteria. It'll be perfect. The next day, after Robert was medically cleared, everyone gathered in the hospital cafeteria. Emily, the 3 kids, Mrs. Barbara, Nancy, and several nurses and staff who had followed their story. When the cake arrived, Emma Grace clapped her hands. "Grandpa, is it your birthday?" "No, sweetheart, it's a party because I'm leaving the hospital." "So it's like a new birthday," Bobby said. "The birthday of the day our family came back together." Robert looked at Emily, who was smiling. "That's exactly right, Bobby, exactly right." They sang "Happy Birthday," ate cake, and took pictures. Robert had never felt happier in his life. When the party ended, it was time to leave. Robert had booked a room at a hotel near the hospital to stay close to Emily and the kids while arranging his move to the city. "Grandpa, where are you sleeping tonight?" Michael asked. "At a hotel nearby." "Why not stay at our house?" Emma Grace asked. "Because your house is small, sweetheart, and Grandpa needs to get settled in the city." "But I want you to stay with us," Emma Grace insisted. Robert glanced at Emily. "Emma, the house really is small, but Grandpa will always be nearby." "Promise?" "I promise," Robert said, picking her up. "And you know what? Soon, Grandpa will have a house here in the city, and you can stay over on weekends." "Really? Really? With a room just for us?" "With a room just for you." The kids were thrilled at the idea, and Robert realized he'd committed to something concrete. Now, he really had to move to Columbus. That night at the hotel, Robert called his lawyer to start the process of selling the farm. He also called some contacts in Columbus, looking for properties and business opportunities. For the first time in 10 years, Robert Johnson had a clear goal in life: to be the best father and grandfather he could be. In the weeks that followed, Robert divided his time between the farm, which needed to be organized for sale, and Columbus, where he spent weekends with Emily and the kids. The children quickly grew accustomed to their grandpa's presence. He helped with homework, took them out for ice cream, and told stories about the farm. And Emily, little by little, relaxed and allowed her father to truly become part of the family's routine. One day, while Robert was helping Bobby with a math assignment, the boy asked a question that caught him off guard. "Grandpa, why were you and Mum fighting for so long?" Robert stopped writing and looked at his grandson. "It's a complicated story, Bobby. But I'm big now, I can understand." Robert glanced at Emily, who nodded for him to continue. "Well, when your mum was young, she fell in love with a boy, and as her father, I thought he wasn't the right one for her." "Why?" "Because I was proud and thought I knew better than her what was good for her." "And then?" "Then I said some really hurtful things to your mum, and she was so upset that she left home. And did you go after her?" "I tried. I looked everywhere, but I couldn't find her." "And were you sad?" "Very sad. It was the saddest time of my life." The boy grew thoughtful. "Grandpa, was the boy Mom liked my dad?" "Yes, he was." "So you didn't like my dad?" Robert took a deep breath. This was a delicate conversation. "Bobby, I didn't really know your dad. I judged him without giving him a chance to show me what kind of person he was, and that was very wrong of me." "But if you had known him, would you have liked him?" "Absolutely. Your dad was a wonderful man. He took such good care of your mum, and he was a loving father to you. I really regret not giving him a chance." "And did you want to meet him?" "Very much. I wanted to apologize to him, to be your grandpa when you were little." The boy moved closer to Robert. "Grandpa, my dad is in a place where he can't come back, but he can see us from up there. And I think he's happy that you came back to take care of Mom and us." Robert hugged his grandson, touched by the boy's maturity. "You really think so?" "I do. Because my dad wanted Mom to be happy, and she's been happier since you came back." That night, after the kids went to bed, Robert and Emily talked about the conversation. He asked those questions because he's trying to understand how the family fits together, Emily explained. Did I answer right? You did. It's important they understand that Mark will always be their dad, and that you're the grandpa who's here to add to their lives, not replace him. Emily, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you still feel angry at me? Emily thought for a moment before answering. Sometimes. When I remember everything I went through alone, I still feel a little anger, but it's fading every day. What can I do to help? Just keep being the father and grandpa you are now. Patient, caring, present. Time will take care of the rest. Emily, I know I'll never fully make up for the lost years. Dad, stop talking about that. We can't change the past. What matters is the present and the future. You're right. And you know what else? I've realized something lately. What? Maybe things happened the way they were supposed to. How so? If we hadn't fought, I never would have left home. I never would have met Mark, never would have had my kids, never would have become the person I am today. Robert was surprised by her reflection. Are you saying it was good that we fought? It wasn't good to suffer. But maybe it was necessary for my growth and for yours too. For mine. Dad, you've changed so much. You're more humble, more sensitive, more caring. Maybe if I'd never left, you'd never have learned these lessons. You might be right. And now our kids will get the upgraded version of their grandpa. Robert smiled. I like to think of it that way. 2 months later, Robert managed to sell the farm at a good price. With the money, he bought a lovely house in Columbus, just 10 blocks from Emily's place. It was a 3-bedroom home with a large living room, a spacious kitchen, and a backyard where the kids could play. Moving day was a celebration. Emily brought the children to help their grandpa settle in, and they were delighted with the new house. Grandpa, is this going to be our room? Asked Emma Grace, stepping into the room Robert had specially prepared for his grandchildren. Yes, it is. Whenever you want to sleep over, this room will be waiting for you. And can I bring my toys? You can bring whatever you want. Michael was exploring the backyard. Grandpa, can we plant a tree here? Of course. What kind of tree? A cherry tree. I really like cherries. Then we'll plant a cherry tree. Bobby was in the living room watching Robert hang family photos. Grandpa, can I help? Sure. Where do you think we should hang this one? Robert asked, holding up a picture of the kids with their father. Right here in the living room so everyone can see it when they come in. Perfect choice. They spent the whole day arranging the house, and by late afternoon, Robert hosted a barbecue in the backyard to celebrate. Emily brought salad and soda, and they had their first official meal in the new home. Grandpa, are you going to live here forever now? Emma Grace asked. Forever. I'm not going away from you again. Promise. I promise. That night, the children slept at their grandpa's house for the first time. Robert was too excited to sleep, listening to the soft sounds of his grandchildren in their rooms. In the months that followed, the family settled into a natural routine. Robert picked the kids up from school twice a week, helped with homework, and took them on weekend outings. Emily kept working at the hospital, but now with the peace of mind, knowing she had support raising her children. One day, 6 months after the move, Robert was in the kitchen making lunch when Emma Grace came home from school with news. Grandpa, my teacher said there's going to be a Grandparents' Day presentation. That's great. What will you be doing? Each kid gets to talk about their grandparents, and I'm going to talk about you. Robert was moved. What will you say? I'll say my grandpa is the best grandpa in the world, that he takes care of us, plays with us, and that he came back to our family after being gone for so long. Emma, are you sure you want to talk about that? Yes, because it's a beautiful story. The story of how love brought our family back together. That evening, Robert told Emily about Emma Grace's presentation. She's really going to share our story at school? She is, and she's so proud of it. The kids handled this situation better than we adults did. It's true, they don't hold grudges or dwell on the past. Dad, can I confess something? Of course. I was afraid the boys would be confused by your arrival, that they wouldn't know how to handle suddenly having a grandpa. And now I see they're happier than ever, and that you're exactly the grandpa they needed." Robert hugged his daughter. "Thank you for giving me this chance, Emily, for letting me be part of their lives. Thank you for really changing, for becoming the father I always wanted." On Grandparents' Day, during the school presentation, Robert was in the front row of the school auditorium alongside Emily and their 2 other grandchildren. When Emma Grace stepped onto the stage, she was radiant. "My name is Emma Grace, and I'm going to talk about my grandpa, Robert," she began. "My grandpa is very special because he had to travel very far to find our family again." The audience listened attentively. Sometimes families stay apart because of misunderstandings, but if people truly love each other, they always find a way to be together again. Robert felt tears streaming down his face. "My grandpa is kind, funny, and makes the best pasta in the world. He teaches me things about the farm, tells stories about Mom when she was little, and always says he loves me. The most important thing is that now our family is complete. We have Mom, who's the best nurse in the world, the memory of Dad, who's watching over us from above, and Grandpa, who came back to stay forever." When Emma Grace finished, the audience gave her a standing ovation. Robert was so moved he could barely breathe. After the presentation, several people approached him to congratulate Emma Grace and learn about the family's story. "What a beautiful story," one woman said. "It's rare to see a reconciliation like this." "The girl speaks about you with so much love," another remarked. "You can tell it's a very close family." That night at home, Robert reflected on everything that had happened over the past year. He had lost a farm but gained a family. He had left behind a life of loneliness and embraced one full of love and purpose. A year after their reunion at the hospital, Robert and Emily decided to organize a special party, not just to celebrate the first anniversary of their reconciliation, but also Robert's 60th birthday. The party was at his house, with a barbecue in the backyard, chocolate cake, the kids' favorite, and all the friends who had been part of their journey. Mrs. Barbara, Nancy, other nurses from the hospital, neighbors, and the children's teachers. During the party, Emily asked for everyone's attention to give a speech. "Everyone, I want to thank you all for being here today. This past year has been very special for our family. A year ago, my father came to the hospital just like any other patient, and as a nurse, I was supposed to care for him professionally, keeping my distance, but life had other plans." Robert listened, deeply moved. "We learned that sometimes you have to lose something to truly appreciate it. You have to be apart to understand the importance of being together, and you have to forgive to be happy. My kids gained a wonderful grandpa. I got my father back and he got the family he always wanted. So today, we're not just celebrating a birthday, we're celebrating a new beginning." Everyone applauded, and Robert stood to respond. "I want to take this moment to apologize publicly to my daughter for all the lost years, for all the pain I caused, for being a stubborn and prideful father. But I also want to say thank you. Thank you for forgiving me the chance to know my grandchildren, for letting me be part of this amazing family." Robert looked at the 3 children who were smiling at him. "Bobby, Michael, and Emma Grace, you've taught me that love has no age, that forgiveness is an act of courage, and that family isn't just about blood. It's a choice. You chose to love me even without knowing me, and that changed my life forever. And to Emily, my dear daughter, I want to say you've become an extraordinary woman, a devoted mother, a skilled professional, a person of integrity. And that wasn't because of me, it was in spite of me. I'm so proud of the woman you've become." Emily stepped closer and hugged her father. "Dad, I love you, and I'm grateful we found our way back to each other." "I love you too, sweetheart. And I promise I'll spend the rest of my life making up for lost time." The children joined the hug, and soon all the guests were moved seeing that family reunited. Later, when the party was over and the children were asleep, Robert and Emily sat in the backyard to talk. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you regret selling the farm?" Robert thought for a moment. "Never. The farm was just a place. Here, with all of you, is where I found my real home. What if I told you the boys would love to experience farm life? What are you suggesting? That maybe we could buy a small country house outside the city, not to live in but for weekends, so the kids can play in the dirt, learn about nature. Robert grew excited at the idea. Are you serious? I am. I think it would be good for them to connect with that side of life, and for you too, to ease some of that longing. Emily, that would be amazing. Then it's settled. We'll look for a small country house to be our weekend getaway. 6 months later, they found the perfect place, a small country house 30 minutes from the city, with a simple home, an orchard, a creek, and plenty of space for the kids to play. The first weekend there was magical. The children ran through the orchard, played in the creek, and helped Robert plant some saplings. Emma Grace was enchanted by the chickens. Michael discovered the joy of fishing, and Bobby learned to milk the cow Robert had bought. "Grandpa, this is better than any amusement park," said Emma Grace, covered in dirt from head to toe. "It really is," Robert agreed, "because here you can play for real, without rush, without limits." That night, sitting on the porch of the country house, Robert and Emily watched the children catching fireflies in the backyard. "Dad, thank you for bringing this joy into their lives. Thank you for giving me the chance to be a grandpa. You know what's the most beautiful part of all this? What? That now they'll have happy childhood memories, memories of running in the yard, fishing in the creek, stories told by their grandpa on the porch. And you, Emily? Are you happy?" "I am. For the first time in many years, I feel like our family is complete." Robert looked at his grandchildren playing, at his daughter beside him, at the starry sky above them. "You know, Emily, if someone had told me 2 years ago that I'd be here today, surrounded by my grandkids, reconciled with my daughter, I wouldn't have believed it. Life takes many turns. It really does, but sometimes those turns take us exactly where we need to be." Emma Grace came running toward them with a jar full of fireflies. "Grandpa, look how many I caught." "Wow, Emma, that's a lot. Can I let them go now? Mom said they need to fly free." "You can let them go, sweetheart." Emma Grace opened the jar and dozens of fireflies flew out, lighting up the backyard with their flickering glow. "So pretty," she exclaimed, clapping her hands. Robert watched the scene. His radiant granddaughter releasing the fireflies, his daughter smiling beside him, the other 2 grandchildren chasing the lights, and felt his heart overflow with gratitude. 2 years had passed since their reunion at the hospital. Robert had become a familiar figure in the community, the devoted grandpa who picked up his grandkids from school, attended every performance, never missed one of Bobby's soccer games. Emily had been promoted to head nurse at the hospital, and the boys were growing up happy and secure, surrounded by love. One morning, Robert was making coffee when he heard the doorbell. It was Emily, but it wasn't her usual time to arrive. "Dad, I need to talk to you." "Did something happen? You look pale." "It's nothing bad, actually, it's good news, but I need your opinion." "What news?" "I got a job offer." "What kind of offer?" "To be the head nurse at a new hospital opening here in the city. A private hospital with a much better salary." Robert was happy for his daughter. "But that's wonderful. Why do you seem worried?" "Because one of the conditions is that I take a specialization course for a year in New York City." Robert felt his heart tighten. "A year in New York when the kids?" "That's the thing. They'd either have to come with me or stay here with you." "Emily, that's your decision. But can I give my opinion?" "Of course. That's why I came to talk to you." "Take the offer. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." "But what about the kids?" "The kids will stay with me. A year goes by fast and they'll be safe and well taken care of." "Dad, it's a huge responsibility. 3 kids. Emily, you gave me the chance to be a father again. Now give me the chance to be the primary caregiver for my grandkids. It's a gift you're giving me." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. Besides, you can visit on weekends, or we can go to New York a few times." "What if I can't handle the course?" "You will. You're the smartest, most determined woman I know." Emily hugged her father. "Thank you for always supporting me." That's what parents are for. That night, they talked to the kids about the offer. At first, there was resistance. "Mom, are you leaving?" Emma Grace asked, worried. "Not forever, sweetheart. I'll be studying in New York for a year, but I'll come back every month. And we'll stay with Grandpa? Michael asked. Yes. Would you like that? Bobby, always the most mature, stepped forward. Mum, if it's important to you, we'll stay with Grandpa. He takes good care of us. Are you sure? I am, and besides, it'll be fun living with Grandpa for a while. Emma, Grace and Michael agreed, and so it was decided. 3 months later, Emily left for New York. The goodbye was hard, but everyone knew it was temporary and for a good reason. The first few days were an adjustment. Robert had to learn to handle the busy routine of 3 kids: school, homework, extracurriculars, doctors, dentists. But little by little, they found their rhythm. Robert hired a housekeeper to help with cleaning, set up a carpool system with other parents for the kids' activities, and threw himself completely into his grandchildren's lives. One night, while helping Emma Grace with her math homework, she made an observation that touched him deeply. Grandpa, you're like a mom and a dad at the same time. Why do you say that, Emma? Because you do everything Mom used to do, but also dad things. What dad things? You play soccer, tell adventure stories, carry us when we're tired. Robert hugged his granddaughter. It's because I love you so much, and when you love someone, you do whatever it takes to take care of them. Grandpa, do you think Mom's okay in New York? I think so. She calls every day, doesn't she? She does, but I miss her. I miss her too, but she'll be back soon, and she'll be even more prepared to take care of you. Emily really did call every day and came back to Columbus once a month. The kids adjusted well, and Robert discovered he was a far more capable caregiver than he'd ever imagined. During that time, he and his grandkids created their own traditions. Pizza on Fridays, movies on Saturdays, trips to the country house on Sundays. And every night before bed, they talked about their day, their feelings, and their plans for the future. One night, Bobby made a confession that surprised Robert. Grandpa, can I tell you something? Of course. When my dad died, I was afraid our family would get too small, that it'd just be me, Michael, Emma, and Mom. And now I'm not afraid anymore, because you came, and our family became whole again. Robert felt his eyes fill with tears. Bobby, you know your dad is still your dad, even if he's not here physically, right? I know, but it's good to have you too. It's like now I have 2 dads, one who watches over us from above, and another who takes care of us here. What a beautiful thing to say. It's true, Grandpa, and I think my dad would be happy knowing you're looking after us. 9 months after the course began, Emily called with unexpected news. Dad, something happened. What is it? I got an offer to stay in New York City, to work at the hospital where I'm doing my internship. Robert felt the world spin. And you want to accept it? It's a really good opportunity, but I can't make this decision alone. Of course you can. You're a grown woman. Dad, it's not just about me. If I stay in New York, the kids will have to move there or I'll have to turn it down. And what do you prefer? I don't know. I'm confused. Emily, talk to the kids first. See what they think. Then we'll all talk together. That night, Robert gathered his 3 grandchildren in the living room. Kids, your mom got a job offer in New York City, and she wants to know what you think. What kind of offer? Bobby asked. A really good job that could give her and you more opportunities in the future. But if she takes it, will we have to live in New York? Michael asked. Most likely. Emma Grace grew thoughtful. Grandpa, what about you? Are you coming too? I don't know, Emma. It depends on what you all decide. But if we go to New York and you don't, you'll be alone again. Robert was moved by his granddaughter's concern. Emma, what matters is what's best for you. I'll be fine. No, she said firmly. We don't want you to be alone. Either you come with us or we stay here. The other 2 agreed with their sister. Kids, New York is a huge city, very different from here. So what? Bobby said. Family sticks together. If Mom goes, we go. If you can't come, then we stay. Robert called Emily that same night. Emily, I talked to the kids. What did they say? That they want the family to stay together. If you go to New York, they'll go. But only if I come too. And do you want to go? Robert thought about the question. New York was a massive city, so different from the rural life he'd always known. But on the other hand, his family came first. "I want to be wherever you are." "Dad, are you sure? It's a huge change. Emily, 3 years ago I was living alone on a farm with no hope of changing my life. Do you really think I'm scared of New York? So that's it. We're moving to New York. If that's what you want, then that's what we'll do." Emily started crying on the other end of the line. "Dad, thank you. Thank you for always putting our family first. Thank you for including me in this family." 2 months later, Robert was selling his house in Columbus and preparing to move to New York City. They decided to keep the country house for vacations and weekends when possible. The move was a grand adventure. The kids were thrilled with the apartment Emily had rented, and Robert was surprised to find he liked the hustle and bustle of the big city. Emily landed an excellent job. Robert found investment opportunities he'd never have in a small town, and the kids adjusted quickly to their new schools. 6 months after moving to New York, they were all gathered in the apartment to celebrate Bobby's 10th birthday. "Grandpa," the boy said during the party, "do you regret leaving Columbus?" "Never." "Why?" "Because sometimes I think about how different our lives would be if you hadn't gotten sick that day." "How so?" "If you hadn't gone to the hospital, you never would have found Mom, and we would never have met our grandpa." Robert smiled. "You know, Bobby, sometimes I think that heart attack was the best thing that ever happened to me." "How can a heart attack be a good thing?" "Because it brought me back to you." Emma Grace, who had been listening to the conversation, stepped closer. "Grandpa, do you think Dad made you get sick right at the hospital where Mom worked?" "Why do you say that, Emma?" "Because it's such a big coincidence, right? Out of all the hospitals in the world, you ended up exactly at Mom's." Robert looked at Emily, who was smiling. "You know, Emma, I like to think your father was watching over us even from above." "I like to think that too," said Michael. "I think he wanted our family to be whole again." That night, after the children had gone to bed, Robert and Emily sat on the porch of their apartment watching the city lights. "Dad, are you happy here?" "Very. And you?" "Me too. I never thought I'd adjust so well to life in New York City." "You can adjust to any place when you're with the right people." "That's true. Dad, can I confess something?" "Of course." "When you showed up at the hospital that day, my first reaction was anger. Anger that you were there, that I had to face the past." "I know. But deep down, really deep down, I was happy. Happy that you were alive, that I had the chance to make things right with you. And I was desperate to reconnect with you, but I didn't know how. Time took care of everything, didn't it?" "It did. And the kids too. They were our little angels. They really were. They taught us that love is stronger than any hurt." Robert took his daughter's hand. "Emily, I want you to know that these last 3 years have been the best of my life." "Mine too, Dad. And I'll spend the rest of my life being grateful for that day at the hospital." "Me too." They sat in silence for a moment, just enjoying each other's company and the feeling of a complete family. "Dad, there's one more thing I want to tell you." "What is it?" "The boys are thinking about doing a presentation at their new school for Grandparents' Day." "About what?" "About our story. About how a family can lose each other and find their way back." "And you think it's a good idea?" "I do. Our story might inspire other families going through similar struggles." "Then I'm all for it." "Actually, they wanted you to be part of the presentation with them." "Me? But I'm no good at public speaking." "Dad, you just have to speak from the heart like you always do." Robert thought about it. "If they want me to, I'll do it." "Great. I'll let them know tomorrow." A month later, Robert stood on stage in the school auditorium with his 3 grandchildren. The audience was packed with parents, grandparents, and teachers. Bobby began the presentation. "Good afternoon. We're the Smith siblings, and we're going to tell you the story of how our family found each other again." Emma Grace continued. 4 years ago, we didn't know our grandpa. We thought we didn't have one. Just memories of our dad, who had gone to heaven," Michael went on. "But one day, our mum was working at the hospital when an older man came in with heart trouble, and she found out that man was her father, who had been gone for a long time." Robert stepped forward. My name is Robert Johnson, and I'm the grandfather of these three wonderful kids. I want to tell you that sometimes we adults make big mistakes because of pride. 10 years ago, I fought with my daughter because of my prejudice and stubbornness. I said terrible things and she left home. I spent 10 years searching for her with no luck. Until one day I had a heart attack and ended up right at the hospital where she worked. It was as if fate had decided it was time for our family to reunite again. Emily, who was in the audience, felt tears streaming down her face. Bobby spoke again. The moral of our story is that it's never too late to ask for forgiveness, and that families may drift apart, but true love always finds a way to bring people back together. Emma Grace concluded, and that grandparents are very special gifts. Even when they come late into our lives, they bring so much love and wisdom. The audience gave a standing ovation, and many people were visibly moved. After the presentation, several people approached Robert and the children to congratulate them and share their own family stories. An elderly woman said, "Mr. Johnson, your story gave me hope. I've also been estranged from my daughter for years, and I was about to give up on reconciliation." "Never give up," Robert replied. "Love always finds a way." A middle-aged man commented, "You made me rethink my relationship with my father. We've been fighting over something silly for 2 years, and after hearing you, I realized life's too short to hold grudges." The children felt proud seeing how their family's story had touched so many people. That night, they celebrated with pizza and ice cream, and Robert reflected on how life had taken incredible turns to bring them to this moment. 5 years had passed since their reunion at the hospital. Robert was now 63 and a respected figure in their New York City community. Emily had become one of the most esteemed nurses in the city, and the children were growing up strong and happy. Bobby, now 13, was already showing interest in pursuing medicine, inspired by his mother. Michael, 11, was passionate about art and spent hours drawing. Emma Grace, 9, was a sweet and intelligent girl who loved reading and writing stories. One afternoon, while Robert helped Emma Grace with a school project about people I admire, she asked a question that surprised him. "Grandpa, can I write about you?" "About me? Why?" "Because you're the person I admire most in the world." "But Emma, there are so many important people." "Grandpa, you don't understand. You taught our family that it's possible to start over, that no matter how many mistakes we make, we can always fix things if we have the courage." Robert was moved. "And what else would you write about me?" "That you're brave, because you left your whole life behind to be close to us. That you're loving, because you take care of us as if we were your own children. And that you're wise, because you always know what to say when we're sad." "Emma, you're making me cry." "Why are you crying, Grandpa?" "Because it's so touching to know I've made a difference in your lives. Grandpa, you saved our family. Before you came, Mom was sometimes very sad. Now she's always happy. And you saved my life too. Before I found you, I was a very lonely and bitter man." Emma Grace hugged her grandfather. "Grandpa, promise you'll never be alone again?" "I promise. Now I have you forever." That week, Emma Grace wrote a beautiful essay about her grandfather, which was chosen to be read at her school's graduation ceremony. Her teacher said it was one of the most touching stories she'd ever read. During the ceremony, Emma Grace took the stage and read, "The person I admire most is my grandpa Robert. He taught me that it's never too late to be a better person, that a family's love can overcome any hardship, and that past mistakes don't define who we are today. My grandpa could have stayed bitter about the years he lost away from us, but instead, he chose to focus on the present and the future. He gives us love, attention, and care, and makes us feel special every day. He says we saved his life, but the truth is he saved ours. He brought joy to our home, stories to our evenings, and the feeling of a complete family we needed. I admire my grandpa because he proved it's never too late to start over, never too late to love, and never too late to be happy." The audience stood up applauding, and Robert was moved to tears, seeing his granddaughter speak about him with such affection. After the ceremony, a journalist covering the event approached the family. "Sorry to interrupt, but this story is extraordinary. Would you mind giving an interview for the local newspaper?" Robert looked at Emily and the kids. If they're okay with it, I don't see a problem. It would be an honor, Emily said. The article was published a week later, titled The Reunion That Changed Lives, the story of a family that lost and found each other in the hospital. The story made waves, and Robert started receiving calls from people who had gone through similar situations, asking for advice on family reconciliation. That gave Robert an idea. Emily, what if we started a project to help families in situations like ours? What kind of project? A support group, lectures at hospitals, something like that, to show it's always possible to start over. Dad, I think that's a wonderful idea. And so, the Reunited Families Project was born, coordinated by Robert and Emily with the kids' support. They visited hospitals, gave talks at schools, and organized support groups for families going through conflicts. The project grew quickly, and soon they were helping dozens of families every month. Stories of parents and children reconciling, grandparents meeting grandchildren for the first time, siblings overcoming old differences. One of the most touching stories was Mrs. Williams's, a 70-year-old woman who had been estranged from her children for 15 years because of a fight over inheritance. "Mr. Johnson," she said after one of the talks, "your story gave me the courage to call my children. It's been 3 days since I spoke to them again, and I'm already planning to meet my grandchildren." Mrs. Williams, that's the greatest gift you could give me. Knowing our story helped your family reunite. You saved my life. I was dying of sadness, of loneliness. Cases like this multiplied, and Robert realized he had found his true purpose in life, helping other families find their way back to each other. 2 years later, the Reunited Families Project had become a recognized NGO, with volunteers in several cities. Robert and Emily traveled the country giving talks, and the kids always joined them when possible. During one of these trips, for a family psychology conference in Washington, D.C., something unexpected happened. Robert was giving a talk on reconciliation in old age when he noticed a woman in the audience who couldn't stop crying. After the presentation, she approached him. "Mr. Johnson, I need to speak with you." "Of course. How can I help?" "My name is Caroline. I'm a psychologist. I've worked with family therapy for 20 years. But today, hearing your story, I realized I need to apply the advice I give to patients in my own life." "What happened with your family?" "I've been estranged from my mother for 5 years because of a fight about my career choice. She wanted me to be a doctor. I chose psychology. She said horrible things to me, and I never spoke to her again. And now? Now I realize I'm wasting precious time. My mother is 78. I can't keep throwing away the years we still have left together. Caroline, it's never too late to start over. Do you think she'd forgive me? Mothers always forgive their children, just like children always forgive their mothers when there's real love." Caroline cried even harder. "Thank you, Mr. Johnson. You gave me the courage I needed." 2 months later, Robert received a letter from Caroline. "Dear Mr. Johnson, I wanted to let you know that I called my mother the day after your lecture. She cried so much upon hearing my voice that I thought she might faint. We talked on the phone for 3 hours. The following week, I traveled to the city where she lives. Our reunion was emotional. She apologized for being so strict, and I apologized for being so proud. Now we're making plans for her to move closer to me. At 78, she says she doesn't want to spend another day away from her daughter. Your story changed our lives. Thank you for teaching us that love is stronger than pride. With affection and gratitude, Caroline." Stories like this arrived almost every week, and Robert felt fulfilled knowing his experience was making a difference in so many lives. One evening during family dinner, Bobby, now 15, made an observation that deeply touched his grandfather. "Grandpa, did you realize our story has become something bigger?" "How so?" "It started with you and Mom reconciling. Then we came to live with you. Then we all moved to New York City together. And now we're helping other families reconcile too." "It's true," Michael agreed. "It's like our family has become an example for others." "And the best part," said Emma Grace, "is that the more we help others, the closer our family becomes." Emily smiled at her father. "The kids are right. Our love has multiplied. Instead of staying just between us, it spread to other families. Robert was moved by his grandchildren's maturity. "You know you're the most special grandchildren in the world, right?" "We know," Emma Grace said, laughing, "because we have the most special grandpa in the world." "Grandpa," Bobby said, "can I ask you a serious question?" "Of course." "Do you regret anything in life?" Robert thought for a moment. "I regret being proud and prejudiced when I was younger. I regret losing 10 years away from all of you. But I don't regret the paths those mistakes led me to take." "Why not?" "Because if I hadn't made those mistakes, I might never have learned the lessons I did. And if I hadn't learned those lessons, maybe I wouldn't be able to help other families the way we do now." "So, even mistakes can be useful?" "They can, if we learn from them and use that experience to do good." Michael, always the most artistic in the family, had been quiet during the conversation but suddenly spoke up. "Grandpa, I'm working on a school project about real-life heroes. Can I do it about you?" "Michael, I'm no hero." "Yes, you are. You saved our family, you help other families, and you teach that it's never too late to be a better person. If that's not being a hero, I don't know what is." Robert hugged his grandson. "Michael, the hero of this story isn't me. It's you three. You taught me how to truly love." "Grandpa, stop being modest," Emma Grace said. "Just accept that you're special." "All right," Robert said, laughing. "I accept that we're a special family." "Yes!" all three children shouted at once. That night, Robert went to bed thinking about how completely his life had changed. From a lonely, bitter farmer, he had become a fulfilled grandfather, a reconciled father, and someone who made a difference in others' lives. But more important than any of that, he had found the true meaning of family. 8 years had passed since that fateful day at the hospital. Robert was now 66, and the Reunited Families Project had become a national model for family reconciliation. Emily, at 36, was one of New York City's most respected nurses and had written a book on compassionate hospital care, inspired by her experience reuniting with her father as his patient. The children were growing up. Bobby. At 17, she was preparing for the college entrance exam for medicine. Michael, at 15, had won several art awards and dreamed of becoming a designer, and Emma Grace, at 13, wrote stories that enchanted everyone who read them. One morning, Robert woke up with a strange feeling in his chest. It wasn't pain, more like pressure. He decided not to say anything to the family to avoid worrying anyone, but as the day went on, the feeling got worse. In the afternoon, while helping Emma Grace with an essay, he felt a sharp pain in his left arm. "Grandpa, are you okay? You look pale," said Emma Grace, concerned. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just a little tired." "Are you sure? Should I call Mom?" "No need, I'll just rest a bit." But Robert knew it wasn't just fatigue. The symptoms were similar to the heart attack he'd had 8 years earlier. When Emily came home from work, she found her father lying on the couch, visibly unwell. "Dad, what's wrong?" "I think I'm having another heart issue." Emily immediately checked his blood pressure and pulse. "We're going to the hospital now." "Emily, I don't want to worry the kids. Dad, they're teenagers, they can handle it. And you need urgent medical care." On the way to the hospital, Robert took Emily's hand. "Sweetheart, if something happens to me..." "Nothing's going to happen. But if it does, I want you to know these last 8 years have been the best of my life, that I have no regrets." "Dad, stop talking nonsense. You'll be fine. And I want you to take care of the Reunited Families Project. It's my legacy. We'll take care of it together." For many more years. At the hospital, the doctors confirmed Robert had suffered another heart attack, but this time more severe than the last. He would need complex surgery, and the risks were significant. The kids arrived shortly after, brought by a neighbor. They found Robert already admitted to the ICU. "Grandpa, how are you?" asked Bobby, trying to control his emotions. "I'm okay, my boy. The doctors will take care of me." "Are you going to be all right?" asked Emma Grace, tears in her eyes. "I'll do everything I can to get better for you." Michael held his grandfather's hand. "Grandpa, you can't leave. We still have so much to do together." "And we will, Michael. We'll do it all." Dr. Richards, the cardiologist in charge, called Emily aside for a private conversation. "Emily, I'll be frank with you. The situation is delicate. Your father needs urgent bypass surgery, but at 66, with a history of a previous heart attack, the risks are high. What are the chances? Of success? About 70%. But without surgery, his chances of survival are much lower. And if the surgery doesn't work? Emily, you know the possibilities. Emily returned to the room where her father was with the kids. So? What did the doctor say? Asked Robert. That you need surgery, and that you're strong enough to get through it. Robert smiled. Then let's do the surgery. Dad, are you sure? I am. I won't give up on you now. The night before the surgery, the whole family stayed at the hospital. Robert spoke to each of his grandchildren individually. To Bobby, he said, "My boy, you're the oldest, and I know you feel responsible for your siblings. But remember, you're still a teenager. Enjoy this time. Study, date, have fun. Adulthood comes soon enough. Grandpa, will you be there when I graduate from medical school? I'll do everything I can to be." To Michael, he said, "Michael, you have an incredible talent for art. Never let anyone convince you art isn't a real profession. The world needs sensitive people like you. Grandpa, will you see me at an art exhibition? I'll be the first to buy your paintings." To Emma Grace, he whispered, "My princess, you have a huge heart and a brilliant mind. Use these qualities to do good in the world just as you already do. Grandpa, do you promise you'll come back home? I promise I'll fight hard to come back." And to Emily, he said, "Sweetheart, you've become an extraordinary woman, an amazing mother, a skilled professional, a person of integrity. I'm so proud of you. Dad, I love you so much. I love you too. And if something goes wrong tomorrow, nothing will go wrong. But if it does, I want you to know I feel complete. I got to be the father you deserved. I met my grandchildren. I helped other families. My life had meaning. Dad, stop talking like that. You'll get through this surgery and we'll have many more years ahead of us." The next morning, Robert was taken into surgery, but Emily and the children waited in the waiting room, along with Mrs. Barbara and other nurses who had become like family over the years. The surgery lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of anxiety, prayers, and hope. When Dr. Richards finally came out of the operating room, his face was serious. "Emily, the surgery was successful. We managed to clear all the blockages and place the necessary stents." "And how is he?" "Stable, but the next 48 hours are critical. He's sedated in the ICU and we'll be monitoring him closely. Can we see him?" "Just you for now, and only for a few minutes." Emily entered the ICU and saw her father connected to machines but breathing steadily. "Dad, the surgery went well. Now you just need to recover. We're all here waiting for you to come back." She held his hand and felt a faint squeeze in response. "The kids are dying to talk to you. Bobby said he needs to tell you about his math test. Michael made a beautiful drawing for you, and Emma Grace wrote a letter she's saving for when you wake up." Robert slowly opened his eyes on the second day after surgery. The first person he saw was Emily, who had spent both nights at the hospital. "Sweetheart," he whispered hoarsely. "Dad, you're back," Emily said, her voice trembling. "How do you feel?" "Tired, but alive. Thank God. The kids are desperate to see you. How are they holding up?" "Worried, but strong. Bobby's been taking care of his siblings like an adult. And the project, the families we were helping. Dad, only you would worry about that right now. Everything's under control." 2 hours later, when Robert was more alert, the children were allowed to visit. "Grandpa," Emma Grace shouted, running to hug him. "You came back." "Easy, Emma," Emily said. "Grandpa's still recovering." "It's okay," Robert said, hugging his granddaughter. "I promised I'd come back, didn't I?" Bobby stepped closer to the bed. "Grandpa, you really scared us." "I'm sorry, son, but I'm here now." Michael showed him the drawing he'd made. "I made this for you, Grandpa. It's our family together, with Dad watching over us from above." Robert looked at the drawing and felt tears well up. It was a beautiful portrait of the family, him, Emily, and the 3 children, with a figure representing Mark above them. "It's beautiful, Michael. That's exactly what our family is like." Emma Grace handed him the letter she'd written. "Grandpa, I wrote this for you to read when you got better." Robert opened the letter and read aloud. "Dear Grandpa, while you were sleeping, I kept thinking about all the good things you've brought to our lives. You taught me that family is the most important thing, that forgiving is good for the heart, and that it's never too late to start over. You can't leave because we still have so many stories to hear, so much ice cream to eat, and so many families to help. When you wake up, I'll give you the biggest hug in the world. I love you so much, Emma Grace." Robert finished reading with tears in his eyes. "Emma, this is the most beautiful letter I've ever received." "Really, Grandpa? Really? And you know what? I'll keep it forever." Robert's recovery was slower this time. He spent 2 weeks in the hospital, followed by another month at home in complete rest. But little by little, with his family's love and Emily's care, he returned to normal. During this recovery period, something beautiful happened. The people who had been helped by the Reunited Families project began sending letters, flowers, and gifts to Robert. Caroline, the psychologist who had reconciled with her mother, wrote, "Mr. Johnson, I heard about your surgery and want to say I'm praying for your recovery. You changed our lives, and now it's our turn to send positive energy to your family." Mrs. Williams, the woman who had reunited with her children, sent a card. "Mr. Johnson, my grandchildren are making drawings, so you'll get better soon. When you recover, we want to welcome you into our home to meet the whole family you helped bring together." Dozens of similar letters arrived every week. Robert was moved to see how he had touched so many lives. "Dad," Emily said one day while reading the letters to him, "do you realize the good you've done in the world?" "Emily, the good I did was finding you. The rest was a consequence." "It's not just that. You've become an inspiration to hundreds of families. And you know what's most rewarding? That now you can continue this work, even if one day I'm no longer here." "Dad, stop talking nonsense. You'll live many more years." "I will, but it's good to know the legacy is secure." 3 months after the surgery, Robert was fully recovered. The doctors said he had the heart of a much younger man and could lead a normal life for many years. To celebrate his recovery, the family threw a party at their country house in Columbus. They invited all their friends, colleagues from the project, and some of the families they had helped. It was an emotional gathering. Robert was radiant, surrounded by people who loved him and had been touched by his story. During the party, Dr. Richards, the cardiologist, approached Robert. "Robert, can I make a proposal?" "Of course, doctor." "I'd like you to be an official speaker at our hospital, to talk to other heart patients about recovery and hope. It would be an honor. Your story is extraordinary. A man who had 2 heart attacks and instead of giving up, used the experience to help others." "Doctor, can I make a suggestion?" "Of course." "How about creating a support program for families of heart patients? Often the family suffers just as much as the patient." "Excellent idea. Let's discuss it next week." And so another project was born. Caring for Caregivers, focused on families of heart patients. 6 months later, Robert was active again, dividing his time between the 2 projects and caring for his grandchildren. One evening at dinner, Emma Grace, now 14, made an announcement. "Everyone, I've decided what I want to be when I grow up." "What is it?" Robert asked. "I want to be a nurse like Mom, to take care of people and help families like ours." Emily was moved. "Emma, are you sure?" "I am. I want to continue the work you started." Bobby, now 18 and accepted into medical school, added, "And I'm going to be a cardiologist, to care for people like Grandpa." Michael, 16, said, "And I'll use my art to help too. I want to illustrate books about family stories." Robert looked at his 3 grandchildren and felt fulfilled. "You know you're the most special grandchildren in the world, right?" "We know," they answered in unison, laughing. "Grandpa," Emma Grace said, "can I ask a serious question?" "Of course. If you could go back in time, would you change anything?" Robert thought for a long moment. "Emma, if I could go back in time, I wish I hadn't fought with your mother. To have known you all since you were little, to have been there when your father died. But if I changed those things, maybe our story would be different. Maybe we wouldn't have learned the lessons we did. Maybe we wouldn't be helping other families the way we do today. So you wouldn't change anything. I'd change the pain we caused each other, but I wouldn't change the final outcome, because look how special our family turned out to be. Emily stood up and hugged her father. Dad, thank you for becoming the man you are today. Thank you for giving me the chance to become that man. 2 years passed. Robert was now 68, more active than ever. The Reunited Families Project had expanded to other countries, and they regularly received invitations for international lectures. Bobby was in his 3rd year of medical school, Michael had won a scholarship in visual arts, and Emma Grace was preparing for her nursing college entrance exam. One morning, Robert woke up with a strange feeling, not pain or discomfort, but a sense of fulfillment, as if his life's mission was complete. At breakfast, he watched his family, Emily reading news on her tablet, Emma Grace studying for a test, and he felt a deep peace. "You know you're the most precious thing in my life?" he suddenly said. "Of course we do," Emma Grace replied, smiling. "Why are you saying this now?" "Because sometimes it's important to remind the people we love how special they are." That afternoon, while working on the project, Robert got an unexpected call. "Hello, Mr. Johnson. My name is Richard Clark. I'm a journalist with National Broadcasting. Yes? We're producing a documentary on family reconciliation stories, and yours was recommended as one of the most inspiring in the country. Would you be interested in participating?" "A documentary?" "Yes. It would feature your family, showing your daily life, as well as some of the families you've helped." Robert talked it over with Emily and the kids, and they all agreed. 2 weeks later, the film crew arrived. For 3 days, they followed the family's routine, filmed the project's activities, and interviewed many people they'd helped. The main interview was emotional. Robert, Emily, and the 3 children sat in the living room, sharing their story with the whole country. "Mr. Johnson," the journalist asked, "what's the biggest lesson from your story?" "That it's never too late to start over. That pride is the worst enemy of happiness, and that family isn't just blood, it's choice, forgiveness, love. Emily, was it hard to forgive your father?" "Yes, but I realized holding on to resentment hurt me more than him. Forgiving was a gift I gave myself." "And kids, what's it like having a grandpa who came into your life late?" Bobby answered, "Better late than never, and he made up for lost time by being the best grandpa we could ask for." The documentary aired 3 months later, titled, "It's Never Too Late to Love." The response was overwhelming. Robert and his family received thousands of messages from people who related to their story. Most importantly, dozens of families reached out, saying they'd reconciled after watching it. One letter especially moved Robert, from a 45-year-old man. "Mr. Johnson, I hadn't spoken to my son in 10 years over a silly fight. After seeing your documentary, I called him. We're talking again, and I'll meet my grandson for the first time next week. Thank you for giving me the courage to take the first step." 3 years later, Robert celebrated his 71st birthday at their country house, surrounded by family and friends. During the party, he gave a speech that moved everyone to tears. "Dear friends and family, when I turned 58, I thought my life was over. I was a lonely, bitter man who had lost my only daughter because of my own pride. Today, at 71, I can say my life truly began when I reunited with my family. These last 13 years have been the most fulfilling and happiest I've ever lived. I've learned that age is no barrier to love, that it's never too late to ask for forgiveness, that family is the most precious thing we have, and that when we help others, we multiply our own happiness. I want to thank my daughter Emily for forgiving me and giving me the chance to be a father again. To my grandchildren Bobby, Michael, and Emma Grace for teaching me to love unconditionally. And to Mark, who even though he's no longer physically here, remains part of this family through the wonderful children he left behind." Robert raised his glass. "A toast to family, a toast to forgiveness, a toast to love that conquers all." "Cheers!" everyone shouted, raising their glasses. Later, when the party was over and everyone was resting, Robert and Emily sat on the porch to talk. "Dad, are you happy?" "Completely. And you?" "Me too. You know, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if that day at the hospital had gone differently." "How so?" "If I had managed to hide better that I knew you, if I had kept my professional distance, do you think it would have been better?" "No, I think things happen the way they're meant to. That day, fate decided our family would reunite." "Emily, can I confess something?" "Of course." "When I had my second heart attack 3 years ago, I was afraid of dying without having fully cherished my time with you all. And now? Now I don't have that fear anymore because I've lived every day to the fullest. I got to know my grandchildren, watched them grow, helped other families, and fully reconciled with you. My life is complete." "Dad, you'll live many more years." "I will, but even if I didn't, it would be enough, because I've achieved everything I wanted, to be a good father and a good grandpa." Emma Grace, now 17 and in her last year of high school, joined them on the porch. "What are you talking about?" "About life, about family," said Robert. "Grandpa, can I ask you something I've always wanted to?" "Of course. If you could give advice to someone who made a big mistake with their family, what would you say?" "I'd tell them not to give up, to have the courage to ask for forgiveness, even if it takes years, to accept that the answer might be no, but it's worth trying, and to remember that true love always finds a way." "What if they're afraid of being rejected?" "Then I'd say rejection hurts, but regret hurts more. It's better to try and be rejected than to never try and live with regret forever." Emma Grace hugged her grandfather. "Grandpa, you know you're my hero, right? And you know you're my princess." "I do. And you know what else? When I have kids, I'll tell them the story of the grandpa who lost his family because of pride and found it again through love." "That'll be a beautiful story to tell. It'll be the most beautiful one of all." The following year, something happened that filled Robert with pride. Emma Grace was accepted into the nursing program at the same university where Bobby was studying medicine. And Michael won a full scholarship to study visual arts at a prestigious university. During the celebration, Robert stood up to make a toast. "Today I see my 3 grandchildren beginning their professional journeys, and it's no coincidence that they've all chosen careers focused on helping others. Bobby will be a doctor and care for people's health. Emma Grace will be a nurse and tend to patients' well-being. Michael will use his art to touch people's hearts. This shows me our family truly has a purpose to do good in the world. And may the legacy of love we built together continue for many generations. I'm proud of each one of you, and I know that wherever Mark is, he's proud too." Bobby, now a 22-year-old young man, stood up to respond. "Grandpa, everything we are today began with your courage to ask for forgiveness, with your determination to be a better person. You taught us that family is commitment, it's showing up, it's loving unconditionally. And we want you to know, we'll carry these lessons forever, that our family will stay united, taking care of each other and helping other families." Michael added, "Grandpa, you turned our pain into purpose, our story of separation into a story of reunion, our family into an example for others." Emma Grace concluded, "And now our mission is to continue your work, showing the world that love always wins, that it's never too late to start over, and that family is the most precious thing we have." Robert was moved to tears seeing the maturity and love of his grandchildren. "You are my greatest pride, my biggest achievement, my greatest gift." 2 years later, Robert was 73 and more active than ever. The Reunited Families Project had become an international organization, with offices in 10 countries. One morning he woke up with an idea. "Emily," he said over breakfast, "how about we write a book?" "What kind of book?" "Our story, but not just ours. The story of all the families we've helped over the years." "Dad, I think that's a wonderful idea. We could call it It's Never Too Late to Love. Tell how reconciliation can transform not just one family, but hundreds of others. And who would write it?" "All of us. I'd tell my part, you yours, the kids theirs, and we'd include testimonies from the families we helped." "Let's do it." 6 months later, the book was ready. It was a moving and inspiring account that touched thousands of people worldwide. The launch was a special event, attended by many families reunited through the project. During his speech, Robert said, "This book isn't just our story. It's the story of everyone who believes love is stronger than pride. That forgiveness is an act of courage, and that family is the most precious treasure we have. I hope these pages inspire others to take the first step, to ask for forgiveness, to reach out, to build bridges where there were once walls. Because if our story has proven anything, it's that it's never, ever too late to love." The book became a bestseller, and all proceeds went to the Reunited Families Project. 3 years later, Robert was celebrating his 76th birthday. The party was extra special because it also marked Bobby's graduation in medicine and Emma Grace's in nursing. During the ceremony, Robert was emotional watching his 2 grandchildren receive their diplomas. "Grandpa," Bobby said afterward, "I have a surprise for you." "What surprise?" "I was accepted into the cardiology residency at the same hospital where you had your heart attacks. I'm specializing because of you." Robert couldn't hold back his tears. "My boy, I'm so proud." Emma Grace stepped forward. "And I have a surprise too. I'll be working at the same hospital as Bobby, in the coronary care unit. Does that mean you'll take care of people like me?" "Exactly," said Emma Grace. "And we'll apply everything we've learned about compassion, about the importance of family in healing." Michael, now a recognized artist, added, "And I'm preparing an exhibition about family, based on our story and the stories of the families we've helped." Robert hugged all 3 grandchildren. "You've exceeded all my expectations. You've become extraordinary people." "We learned from the best teacher," said Bobby. "To the best grandpa in the world," Emma Grace added. "To the man who taught us it's never too late to be happy," Michael concluded. That night, Robert went to sleep with a peaceful heart. His grandchildren were following paths that fulfilled them and would help others. Emily was a respected professional and a wonderful mother. The project would live on through them. The next morning, Robert woke up early and went to the porch to watch the sunrise. It was a habit he had developed in recent years, giving thanks for each new day. Emily found him there, drinking coffee and reading emails from people who had been touched by the book. "Good morning, Dad." "How did you sleep?" "Very well, and you?" "Great. Dad, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you have any regrets in life?" Robert thought for a moment. "You know, Emily, for many years I deeply regretted fighting with you. But now, looking at everything we've built together, at all the families we've helped, at the wonderful adults your children have become, I think everything happened the way it was supposed to." "Why?" "Because if we hadn't gone through that separation, maybe we never would have learned the true value of family. Maybe we wouldn't have the passion we do for helping other families in similar situations." "So you wouldn't change anything?" "I'd change the pain we caused each other, but I wouldn't change the final outcome, because look at what we've built together." Emma Grace appeared on the porch, already dressed for work. "Good morning, beautiful family," she said, kissing her grandpa and mom. "Good morning, my princess. Excited for another day of saving lives?" "Always, and guess what? Yesterday a letter arrived at the hospital from a family that reconciled after reading our book." "Really?" "Really. A father and son who hadn't spoken in 5 years. After reading our story, they decided to forgive each other." Robert smiled. "That's what gives me the energy to keep going, knowing our experience is helping others." "Grandpa, you've accomplished more than most people dream of in a lifetime." "Emma, what I've accomplished is finding all of you. The rest was just a consequence." Michael came running in, late as usual. "Sorry, everyone. I overslept again." "Michael, you need to buy a better alarm clock," Emily said, laughing. "I've bought 3. The problem is I turn them off in my sleep." Robert chuckled. "Michael, at least you're consistent in your inconsistency." "Grandpa, speaking of which, I wanted to tell you something. Yesterday, a famous gallery owner saw my paintings about family and wants to organize an international exhibition." "Michael, that's wonderful. And the best part, he wants to call the exhibition It's Never Too Late to Love, in honor of our book." Robert was moved. Michael, that's incredible. Your art will take our message to the whole world. Bobby arrived shortly after, still excited from his first day of residency. Guys, you won't believe it. Yesterday I treated an older man who hadn't spoken to his daughter in years. When he heard our story, he asked me to help him reach out to her. And did you? Robert asked. I did. She's already on her way to the hospital. They're reuniting this afternoon. Bobby, that's beautiful. Grandpa, it's like our story is a seed that keeps sprouting in other places. Robert looked at his family gathered on the porch and felt a deep peace. You know you're my greatest pride, right? We know, they all answered in unison, just as they had since they were kids. And you know I love you more than anything in life? We know, they repeated, laughing. Then my mission here is complete. Emily hugged him. Dad, your mission will last many more years. We still have so much work ahead. That's true. But even if one day I'm no longer here, I know you'll keep spreading love and reuniting families. We will, Emma Grace said, because you taught us that this is our life's mission. Robert looked up at the morning blue sky and whispered a prayer of gratitude. Thank you, Mark, for taking such good care of our family. Thank you for leaving behind these wonderful children, and thank you for giving me the chance to be part of it all. At that moment, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the tree in the backyard, as if in reply. Grandpa, said Emma Grace, I think Dad is saying he's proud of you too. Robert smiled. I think so, my princess. I think so. And there on that porch, surrounded by the love of the family he had rediscovered and built, Robert Johnson knew his life had been worth it, that all the mistakes, all the pain, all the lost years had led to this perfect moment. A moment where love had conquered pride, where forgiveness had healed old wounds, where a broken family had become stronger than ever, and where a 76-year-old man could say with absolute certainty that it had never been too late to love. The end of the story. Now tell us what you thought of this touching story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave your heartfelt words in the comments. Do you believe Robert made the right choices in life? We'd love to hear your thoughts, and thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories.